and through your spouse. You can learn, you can fellowship, and you can even be corrected through your spouse. Now, a lot of you women are just saying, I like that. I'm good at that. Well, there's about 3 hours of teaching, dear sister, on how you're supposed to do that. But let me just run down through a few of them, because I don't want to leave your husband to the sharks. Okay? 1, she must foremost rely upon the quality of her life and not argumentation. Not the tongue. Not nagging. Not instructing and directing and talking down as though he were her little boy. Although sometimes he may act like it. That comes from 1 Peter 3:1. In the same way, you wives, be submissive to your own husbands, so that even if any of them are disobedient to the word, they may be won without a word by the behavior of their wives. Doesn't the Holy Spirit know women? He knows that what they're going to go for is the tongue. They are. They're just better at it than we are. And they back against a man against a wall until he does something really foolish. He says, no, with your life. Secondly, she must not sharply rebuke him, but appeal to him. This is a principle found in authority in 1 Timothy 5:1, where young men are not to sharply rebuke an older man, but appeal to him as father. Secondly, she must demonstrate reverence and respect. Ephesians 5:33, the wife must see to it that she respects her husband. Also, she must demonstrate a submissiveness, a genuine submissiveness. 1 Peter 3:5, for in this way in former times the holy women also who hoped in God used to adorn themselves, being submissive to their own husbands. And finally, she must demonstrate a gentle and quiet spirit. 1 Peter 3:4, but let it be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable quality of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is precious in the sight of God. Say, well, my husband will never change if I do what you just said. Well, let me ask you a question. With all your striving, has he changed thus far? No. There's a principle I teach. It's actually a sermon. It's entitled, to women, it's entitled, How to Live in Such a Way So That God Will Kill Your Husband. And it has something to do with this. I love European castles. Every time I go to Europe or something, if I can find a castle somewhere, I'll go to it. But I was so amazed that in the castles, in the front door, the big door, 30 soldiers walking abreast could go through that door. But when you get to the second floor of many of those castles, the stairwell is only about this wide. And the door on that castle is only about this wide. You wonder, well, what's the deal? Why is that? Well, here's the reason. If the first floor is stormed by the enemy, and they knock the door down and all these soldiers run in, everyone in the castle, all they have to do is go up to the second floor. And then if there's 400 enemy down there on the first floor, it doesn't matter. That narrow stairwell will only allow one of them at a time to come up through that door. And so one man with a lance can protect that entire castle. It's pretty ingenious, isn't it? Well, dear sister, you have your husband run up to the second floor. You have stormed the gates and you've run him up to the second floor. And he is quite an intelligent man, so he ran quite quickly. And he's up there in that one little door, in that one little stairwell with that lance, and he's defending everything you can throw at him. And the whole time you're fighting against him with the tongue, with accusations, with attitudes. You're fighting, you're trying to change him, you're trying to get him to see. And all the while you're doing that, you're yelling back at God, why don't you do something? He says, get out of the way. Why don't you do something? Get out of the way. Because only one person's going up that stairwell at a time. Only one person's going to deal with your husband at a time. So if you want to be the one dealing with him, you go right ahead, daughter. Fight to your heart's content. Knock yourself out. But I will not be participating in your battle. Now, if you step aside, and do what I tell you to do and give place to the wrath of God, I'll deal with your husband. Now, if you go home tonight and your wife is extremely submissive and loving, you better say your prayers, because you may die before you wake up tomorrow morning.